Pollinators are important right now because there are so many decreasing species. They figure that 1 in 3 bites of the food that we eat rely on pollination. Usually it's the stuff people like to eat. My name is Chris Evans and I work for the Lewis and Clark Conservation District. I started with Lewis and Clark Conservation District in 1999, so a little over 25 years. Lewis and Clark Conservation District is in west central Montana, but it's kind of included in southwest Montana too. I like to say that all of the parts of the state that had little bits left over make up Lewis and Clark County, because we have mountains, we have plains, we have rivers, we have sort of all of the terrain that's in Montana. And that was a challenge for the pollinator program, because how do you get seed that's going to work from one end of the county to the other, and from the high mountains to the valleys and the desert. The Lewis and Clark Conservation District Pollinator Initiative has been developed for increasing species of pollinators across the county and providing education to landowners about what pollinators do and why they're important. The idea was to have a couple of seed mixes that we could give out to people in the counties for free, with some educational material on how to get pollinator plots started and why it was important. Spreading pockets of pollinators across the landscape is more important than just having one big chunk of pollination available for the bees and bats and whatnot, because they only have a limited range that they can fly. And so if you spread out the pockets of pollinators, they have more options to eat or to retrieve what they're getting from the flowers. A lot of what conservation districts do is education. So education to me on the pollinator side of things is super important, because Montana's got the largest number of bumblebees in the continental United States. And so those bees rely on pollinators, and to keep the species going, we've got to have the food sources for those critters. Education makes people more aware of all of the importance of how the whole system ties together. And it teaches them that they can grow pollinators. It's not a hard thing to do. Once you get them established, they just sort of take care of themselves. You do just a little weeding now and then. It started as kind of an offshoot of the Lake County Conservation District's pollinator program. They came over to the Area 6 administrators meeting at the beginning of 2020 and wanted us to get started. And so the Gallatin Conservation District kind of led the charge and got a grant for all of the districts in Area 6 who wanted to participate. And that was our first year. In 5 years, including 2024, which we're done with the season for now, we've worked with 286 different individuals, some of them multiple years. We've given out a little over 15 acres worth of seed, and we've also sponsored 3 different grants, one for the Helena Community Gardens. They established a whole pollinator section at the Selma-held Helena Community Garden. And then the Feathered Pipe Foundation, we've done grants for them 2 years in a row. And I can't remember the statistics on the acreage, but I think it's around 5 acres worth of pollinator area that they've improved up there. I think the funnest thing about the program, looking back over the 5 years, is that for conservation districts, it brings in a whole different demographic of people that we maybe would not normally have had contact with. So it's people who live in town, it's people who live in little subdivisions. It's not just the ag folks that we traditionally deal with, it's bringing in people from all over the county. It really has been phenomenal to see the numbers of people interested. You know, people always say, what's a conservation district? And that we're the best kept secret out there. And I would say that most people who've participated in the pollinator program didn't know what we were before we started. But they get so excited about it. And what's been really interesting is how it's led to the grants for the other organizations. And it's just increased interest in what we do, just overall. We have people calling, even now we've got people calling saying, can I get in on the seed for next year? And I'm already working on next year's program. It's been exciting.